I am now. Okay, we were doing the various kingdoms, right? And amongst all those kingdoms, we have, I think, almost finished all of them. We began with plants, then we moved on to prokaryotes, then we did fungus, then we did protoctist. I haven't done animals with you. I have to do this kingdom. And then the last slide, which I was talking about yesterday, was about the viruses. We all were on the same page. We all definitely discussed this, that viruses are acellular, meaning that they are not composed of cells because they are not even considered to be living things, which means they can't grow, respire, reproduce, excrete, or move from one place to another, right? They can't grow independently. They don't have any protoplasm or cytoplasm, cell membrane, nucleus, or ribosomes. So this was a general description of the virus. There are some specific descriptions of the viruses which are a part of your syllabus, and I will be doing this right now. So let's start, and please pay attention to this part. As far as your syllabus is concerned, you all need to know about the basic structure, the shape and the structure of the viruses. What do viruses look like? How or what are they made up? There are some general characteristics of viruses, and those are that all viruses have a central core of RNA or DNA. I'll tell you what RNA or DNA is. So what are we actually doing? We are doing the general characteristics of viruses. Guys, if at any point you feel that, you're not understanding anything, please stop me and ask me.
Miss,
Anusha, is this clear?
Do we have to
Yes.
take notes in this?
No. They're already there. I'll share them with you, right?
Okay.
The first feature is all viruses have a central core. I'll tell you what you mean by a central core. A central core means a central part of RNA or DNA. Acha. At this stage, of course, I can't go into the details of what actually RNA is or what DNA is. Of course, everybody knows, all of you must be knowing what DNA is, but just to simply state right now at the moment, I would say these are two very essential molecules, right? Two very essential molecules, or in other words, I can call them two very essential nucleic acids of your body. They play a role in protein synthesis. This is the most I can tell you at this stage. So I'm going to note that down. What are they? This is just an extra note that RNA and DNA are nucleic acids. Nucleic acid is their chemical name, involved in the synthesis of proteins. Acha, Anusha, can you tell me which organelle did we do in chapter cell which is responsible for protein synthesis? Do you remember the name of that organelle?
Ribosome?
Very good, ribosome. So ribosomes are those organelles which are responsible for protein synthesis. And besides ribosomes, we also need RNA and DNA for protein synthesis. So right now, this much information is more than enough. So why are we discussing about RNA and DNA? Because viruses are made up of a central core of RNA and DNA. So let me make a virus for you to show you how they look like. For example, if this is a virus, okay, I won't say that I'm making a cell membrane. Why won't I say I'm making a cell membrane? Yes, Anusha?
Viruses are not actually cells.
Very good. Viruses are not actually cells. So this means I'm just making an outer coat of the virus. Okay. In a while, I'll tell you what that coat is made up of. But right now, I just want to tell you the first part, and that is that the virus is made of a central core of either DNA or RNA. Now, I'll make two viruses to show you how the DNA core and how the RNA core looks like. This is one virus. Let's say virus 1 and virus 2. Okay. Virus 1 is made up of an RNA core and virus 2 is made up of a DNA core. DNA always looks like a double helix, double stranded, right? So viruses can be made up of DNA or RNA. That's the core of the virus. What is the outer structure of the virus? The outer structure is known as the protein coat. Okay, it is known as the protein coat. So I will label this as the protein coat. It's a non-living structure. Again, this is the protein coat also. So this diagram in front of you on the screen shows you the generalized structure of viruses. Okay. Who else is there in the classroom? Aisha Mahar, can you repeat what I said right now?
Miss, you said that the core of the virus could either be a RNA or it could be DNA, and it doesn't have any other structure except that, and outside there's like this protein coat.
Okay. Now this protein coat, very well summarized. This protein coat has a name. Okay, and what is that name? It's known as capsid. CAPSID, capsid. Okay, and this entire coat is known as the capsid, and it has individual small units known as the capsomeres. So let's say if I draw these units, small units, which make up the capsid protein layer or the outer core. So this individual unit is known as a capsomere. Right? Again, I repeat, all viruses are made up of a DNA or an RNA core, C-O-R-E core, which means the central part, surrounded by a protein coat. The name of the protein coat is capsid, and the capsid proteins are made up of individual units, and each of these small units is known as a capsomere. That is
Miss,
it. Ji beta.
how do viruses have DNA if they're not living?
It's just like saying, a very valid question, Anusha. It's just like saying that DNA is not living. Okay, DNA is just a program that they have. Now, a computer also has a program, but do you say computer is a living structure?
No.
No, DNA is just a code. It's a code, right? It's a program, or it's a code that tells you that, that it's made up of certain elements and certain molecules which are joined to each other. Like, for example, let me give you an example. How would you read this formula as? What is this?
H2O.
So what is H2O?
Water.
Okay. What is this?
CO2.
What's this?
Carbon dioxide.
Gas, right? Okay. So now this is another code. What is this? DNA.
DNA.
Deoxyribonucleic acid. So if I say water is non-living, carbon dioxide is non-living, why can't DNA be non-living? It's also a molecule. Got
I
it?
don't know. Okay.
Of course, because you see, when you say DNA, you're actually writing down its formula in an abbreviation form. You want to say that this particular molecule, which looks like a double helix, is made up of deoxyribonucleic acid. It's just like saying, for example, I don't know whether you know the name of this. Any idea who knows the name of this acid? This is the formula for which acid? Any idea?
Sulfuric acid.
Sulfuric acid. Okay, so it's an acid, right? This is carbonic acid. So these are just chemical formulas. So do we consider them as living structures?
No.
No. Similarly, DNA is not living. When you say something is living, then this means it has to have protoplasm. And when I say protoplasm, it is a combination of water, mineral salts, and many other ingredients in a certain ratio. All those things together make up life. Okay. And then when I say protoplasm, I've explained this to you before as well. In simple words, the another word for protoplasm is life. And technically, I would say cytoplasm is life, cell membrane is life, nucleus is life, ribosomes is life, mitochondria is life, chloroplast is life, ribosomes are life, right? But the molecule itself, the DNA or the RNA molecule itself, they are not considered living, right? Is that clear, Anushe?
Yeah, thanks.
Acha. What do these viruses do? If they are not living, then why do we include them in the class of microorganisms? The reason we include them in the class of microorganisms is that this is the essential point. Viruses are acellular, but given the chance of attaching to a host cell, and that host cell can be my body cell. For example, COVID-19 virus. The host cell for COVID-19 virus was the cell of my respiratory system, maybe the cell of my nose or the cell of my windpipe or the cell of my lungs. Now imagine this is the virus. Okay, let me draw the COVID-19 virus. And by the way, COVID-19 virus is an RNA virus. It's not a DNA virus. It has a central core of RNA. Okay, this is your RNA virus. And you all know that the COVID-19 virus also has these extra proteins known as the spike proteins, which is why it looks, it looks like a crown-shaped virus, right? Now, this virus comes into contact with a cell of the respiratory system. I'm just drawing a random cell of the respiratory system, cilia. It attaches, okay? What does a virus do? It's going to attack the nucleus. The nucleus is the protein making machinery of a cell. So given the chance of attaching to a host cell, the virus will get hold of the protein making machinery of a cell. Once it gets hold of the protein making machinery, and when I'm saying protein making machinery, I'm referring to the nucleus. So once it takes hold of the nucleus, with the help of that, the virus can replicate, it can make copies of itself, and it can completely destroy the various cells of the respiratory system, right? So this is step number one. G beta.
Do viruses only attach to the nucleus, or can they just stick to the surface?
They first stick to the surface and then they attack the nucleus. Because for
So
them,
can
the nucleus is, yes, beta.
Can they make copies of themselves by just sticking to the cell and not the nucleus?
No, they can't. They can
Okay.
only make copies of themselves if they attack the nucleus. This is what they usually do. They attack the nucleus and then they make copies of the cells, right? So then they make copies of themselves. And attack thousands of cells like this. Right? So is this much understood by all?
Yeah.
Any? So I would say some essential points, takeaway points, I would say, essential takeaway points from viruses. they will be that they are acellular, when they replicate and when they take, of course, when imagine a cell like this, right? This is your respiratory epithelial cell. So if it attacks the protein machinery, Anusha, what do you think? Will this cell be now alive or dead?
Wait, what are you saying?
My question is that if a virus attacks a protein machinery of a cell, which is the nucleus, right? It has a complete hold on the protein making machinery of the cell, which is the nucleus. Do you think that this cell will be considered a living cell now, or would I consider it dead?
It would still be alive.
It will be completely dead, completely damaged. Because you see, if you remember when we were doing the structure of the nucleus and the functions of nucleus, we said nucleus controls all activities in the cell. Nucleus controls cell division. And just a minute. Can you hear my voice clearly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, there was some echo. Yes, nucleus controls cell division, repair of worn out parts, all the cell activities. So if a virus is getting hold of the nucleus of the cell, it means it has got hold of everything. So this means that now, practically speaking, this cell is considered to be completely damaged. And this is how the COVID-19 has caused damage in the lungs of so many people. And the degree of the damage caused by this COVID-19 virus was proportional to the degree to which the people, were suffering from the severity of the disease. There were some people in whom the disease was very, it was very mild, right? So in that case, what do we expect? That the virus might not have attacked so many cells. Whereas on the other hand, there were some people who were put on a ventilator, right? Some people who died actually. So those who severely got this COVID-19 infection, they were those in whom the viruses had caused a lot of damage as far as the respiratory epithelial cells are concerned. Does that make sense, Anushe?
Yeah.
Right? So we say that viruses damage cells. Viruses damage the host cells. And last but not the least, because the viruses are doing all this, we say that the viruses are parasites. In fact, I would, instead of saying like this, I would say all viruses are parasites. Anusha, do you remember what's the meaning of the word parasite?
Yeah, a parasite is an organism that feeds on another organism and causes its harm.
Yes. Yes. A parasite is one organism that feeds on the other organism. It takes complete benefit from that organism, and in return, it harms it. So that's a parasite. And this is the classical definition of a virus. All viruses are parasites because they feed on the other organism. Let's say in this case, the COVID-19 is feeding on the respiratory epithelial cells. It is completely attacking the nucleus of the respiratory epithelial cell. It makes copies of itself, right? So it is living, sort of, it's trying to make copies of itself at the cost of the respiratory epithelial cell, right? So this is all about the viruses. And then what I'll do is that I will do the questions I gave you on the Google Classroom. I don't know whether you guys remember or not, or whether you've done them or not. It was not a homework. It was just practice questions. So I'm going to open that and I will be doing some questions with you. Okay, Aisha Bahar, what's the answer to MCQ number 5?
Yeah. In plants, what is formed by glucose? Miss, would it be a tissue?
Yes, correct. B. Aisha, you only tell me. The diagram shows a palisade mesophyll cell. It's a leaf cell, a cell taken from a leaf. Which structure is not found in an animal cell?
Uh, Miss, would we say A because it's a cell membrane?
Cell
Oh,
membrane is
sorry,
found in
sorry,
the animal cell.
sorry. That, yeah.
So what structure?
D.
Yes. What's D? Correct. What's D?
Is it chloroplast?
It's chloroplast. Achha, now tell me what's A?
Miss, A is cell membrane.
What's B?
B is the cytoplasm.
C?
The C would be the nucleus.
Nucleus, correct. And this is the classical example of a palisade mesophyll cell. You should make your eyes used to looking at such cells. And when I ask you which kind of a cell is this, so you should be able to say it's a palisade mesophyll cell. It's a classical cell that you see in a leaf. And that's the reason why it has an abundance of chloroplasts. Sometimes a question can be asked, in exams, a question can be asked that why does this cell has lots of chloroplasts? So you will say it's a cell that has been taken from the leaf. Since leaf is that part of the plant which makes food, which photosynthesizes, so we expect this part or this cell to have the largest number of chloroplasts, right? So it's a kind of a specialized cell. Have I done the topic specialized cell with you? Yes?
Yes.
Right? So specialized cell, a palisade mesophyll cell is also a specialized cell. Okay, moving on to the next part. Fatma, are you there?
Yes, miss.
Okay, Fatma, what's the answer to this question? And guys, if the meeting ends, since the meeting time is only 40 minutes, so if it ends, please rejoin the classroom because I want to finish these questions with you. I don't want to leave them incomplete. Yes, Fatma, what's the answer to question number 9?
A, cell membrane.
The shaded area of the diagram represents which structure is from the shaded area? Cell membrane, correct. Okay, yes, Anushe. Question number 10. What's the correct answer?
D. Vacuole.
A palisade cell and a nerve cell are observed under a light microscope. Only the palisade cell has a vacuole.
Miss, I have a
Fine.
question.
So,
Ji beta.
Miss, for the quiz, is it only cells or is it cells and the magnification topic as well?
It's cells, it's magnification, it's everything. Everything that I have done with you.
Miss, even
Right?
viruses?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Both, see, go and check Miss Nazish's email and see the syllabus over there. All the learning outcomes have been very clearly, well defined in the email that has been sent to you when you're preparing for your test. Always keep the learning outcomes in front of you, right? Okay, next question. Yes, Anusha, this is for you. What's the answer to this MCQ? Sorry.
Photosynthesis would occur in Y, because that's a chloroplast, and starch would be stored in X, which is the cytoplasm.
No. This thing, when I was teaching you specialized cell, I don't know whether you guys remember or not, but I told you this. The place where photosynthesis happens should be the place where starch should be stored. Why? Because the end product of photosynthesis is glucose, right? So all the excess glucose molecules should be stored in the chloroplast only. Does that make sense, Anushe?
Yeah.
Right? So the answer in that case will be which option?
D.
D. Y. Y for both, right? Okay. Yes, Aisha Mahar. I think you must not know this as this one. Question number 13 and 14. These are both for you, Aisha. What's the answer? Correct one.
Um,
Very
Miss,
easy.
would it be C 2 and 3?
Yes, C, because a palisade cell is a cell of the leaf and a liver cell is
Yeah.
an animal cell. Of course, we don't expect the liver cell to have a cell wall, but yes, we
Right.
do expect the liver cell to have cytoplasm and nucleus, right?
Okay, Miss,
Okay.
understood.
Yes, Aisha. What about question 14?
Miss, is the answer B? It has no chloroplast.
How does cell P differ from cell Q? Cell P doesn't have chloroplast. Correct. Yes. Question number 15.
Miss, me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which structure
Miss,
do all? Yes.
yeah,